If you're working as a health, fitness, or a wellness professional, there's a lot of insights that you can gain by having your clients look at their stool. All the cool kids are stool gazers. So in this video, I want to help you understand that if your client's stool is floating, is that a bad thing? And what kind of insights can we gain from that? Here we go.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So one of the more common reasons that you could see a floating stool situation is because there's too much fat in that stool. And most experts are going to tell you, oh, you have too much fat in your diet. You need to have a lower fat diet like we did back in the 80s when we were running in horror from dietary fats. And of course, we know dietary fats are not really a bad thing when those fats are good fats. But when we're seeing a floating stool due to dietary fats, it's usually because those fats have not been digested or emulsified correctly. And it's usually because a client's bile has become too thick and sticky to flow down into the duodenum correctly. That bile flows down into the duodenum and helps us kind of neutralize acids that are coming from the stomach along with the bicarb from the pancreas. But the bile also helps us kind of break down those dietary fats. And there's a lot of reasons that a client's bile has become too thick and sticky not to flow correctly, but it can create a lot of health issues. You really want your client's bile to be moving correctly so not only they can digest their foods correctly, but they can also detox the way that the body really wants to detox. Because if you can't break down your fats, that means your client is not accessing fat-soluble vitamins like A, E, D, and K. Those can be kind of a pretty big deal. So if we're seeing a lot of fats in the stool and it's causing it to float, we really do want to correct that. But when this is causing the stool to float, in most cases, you're going to see other signs as well, like the client's going to have a light colored stool, like lighter than the color of corrugated cardboard. Or you might see like a greasy stool, like it's leaving like skid marks on the toilet bowl when they have a bowel movement. Or they might be dealing with nausea or even like acne or skin type issues, or maybe even loose stools. So there's a lot of things that could be going wrong when bile isn't flowing correctly. It's usually just not going to be just the floating stool. You're usually going to see other things going along with that. So the next thing we want to think about is maybe some type of possible overgrowth going on, like a SIBO issue or a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So if there's an overgrowth of bacteria in that digestive tract where it shouldn't be, we should have most of our good bacteria in our large intestine, then when they have fiber come through there, they can ferment that fiber and that can create a lot more gases that can create basically like bubbles that can get into the stool and make that stool float. So if a client is dealing with some type of overgrowth, we really want to improve that because that overgrowth can restrict their ability to really break their food down and get all the nutrients out of that food. And so when we're looking at a stool that's floating, we're just looking at a less dense stool. And is it less dense because there's more undigested fats in there, or maybe more air from some type of fermenting going on from an overgrowth? All of these things can be signs that a person is really not breaking down their food correctly. And a lot of the experts out there, when they see this floating stool, they're going to tell you, oh, well, that's a gallbladder problem. Oh, well, that's a pancreas problem. And they like to blame the organ. But when an organ is not working correctly, there's usually malfunctions creating that. It's not the gallbladder's fault. And these functions are important. The pancreas puts out these enzymes that help us really break our food down fully. And the gallbladder is squirting this bile down into the duodenum to help us emulsify our dietary fats and really break our food down correctly. So we want those things happening, but when they're not working correctly, there's usually malfunctions creating that. And I'm not going to go too deep into fixing digestion here. We've talked about that in a lot of videos, but if you're new here and you don't know how to do that, you can check out my book, Health Pro Results, and chapters 3 and 4 of that book kind of walk you through helping clients figure out which aspects of digestion are not working correctly and steps they can take to improve those. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'll put a link in the description below where you can get the whole thing totally for free, and then you can just jump to chapters 3 and 4 to kind of walk through that. And if you're a consumer that just happened upon this video, then I'll also put a link from my book, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts. And chapters 3 and 4 of that book go over that same content. It's really just written more for consumers, where the Health Pro Results book is really written more for health professionals. But you can get either of those for free in the description below here. But another thing that we want to think about that could be a possible issue that can cause the stool to float is a lot of fiber. Remember, we can't really digest fiber like the bacteria can, but as humans, we can't digest fiber. And if you ate wood, like you wouldn't be able to digest that. But wood, if you throw it into water, is going to float. So a lot of fiber can be almost like wood, where that could cause a stool to float. So a client might be having like a high fiber diet, and for them, that might be an okay thing. So if that's causing the stool to float, that might not be such a horrible thing. Some clients are going to have problems with fiber where those fibers can cause them trouble, but a lot of people do okay with fibers. So we don't want to look at just the floating stool as some type of diagnostic thing. It's just not. We need to look at other pieces of information to get an insight into, okay, is this floating stool a good thing or a bad thing? We really want to look at the whole picture to understand what's going to be best for that client. So I hope that gives you some insights that you can use with your clients. And if you want to understand other digestive malfunctions that can go on, you can jump over right now and check out our video on understanding your client's digestive issues. I can't wait to hear about your results.